This video is brought to you by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Thank you all for your support, and if you're interested in becoming a member, you can check the link in the description below. Yo, what's good? It's me, your guy, all the way from Bed-Stuy, Habbo, here with another fantastic episode of the Art Block, and here with me today is Chuck Collins. Chuck, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you feeling?
I'm doing pretty well. I had a very motivational talk with a friend, and I'm feeling good and reinvigorated. So,
nice.
Yeah, nice. Things are good. I love your setup.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Man.
What you got going on back there?
I got okay, first of all, this whole section is nothing but anime books.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could see all of it all the way, but basically, some of the books that I have that I really use are on the side of the desk over here.
Yeah.
But I got the Govi Light. I don't know if you ever read Xenogenesis by Nicholas Draper Ivey.
The name sounds familiar.
This is his little character from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's, I know Nick, I've known him for a while, and he's a really good dude, and that whole story was pretty dope.
Nice.
And I also got Dark Schneider. Because, no artist station is complete without the Dark Taylor.
Yeah. And is that a Star Wars helmet back there too, or? Oh,
that's Ant-Man.
That's Ant-Man? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just got to say this. One of the cool benefits of me and Karma is the fact that Karma, the blurred girl, gets access to a whole bunch of cool things when movies come out and everything. So I get so all the little props that she gets that, she doesn't want.
Yeah.
You take it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I just put them in this Transformers mixtape, which is pretty.
Oh, that's dope.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's from the last movie, right?
This is from the last movie. It looks like a cassette, right? It's actually a mini speaker.
No way.
I got so hyped up. I was like, oh, yo, I'm gonna find a tape deck. Got no tape.
That's crazy.
You plug in the little
That's
thing
a transformer. That is a transformer right there.
There you go. This is
Soundwave, yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And nothing else. This is just my other speaker over here. This is what is this called again? The Gravistar.
Okay, got you. But yeah, it's so good to have you here. The last time we were on camera together, I think that was 2020. So it's been 3 years, but we saw each other recently. So folks, don't worry. We did see each other recently at the Schomburg a few months back, but let's dive into something completely different from art right now, because there's a very popular thing happening. A lot of people are into it, and a lot of people are angry about it. It's called Diablo 4. I'm sure you've heard of that game.
Ooh, yeah.
How you liking it so far?
Okay, so I know a lot of people were going crazy, especially with the big nerfs. I've been playing season 1, and I already got my rogue up to level 40. And I started a barbarian today. I got him up to level 20.
Nice.
Yes, it's you feel the nerfs. The nerfs are real. But I think I can't really get mad, to be quite honest, because this is to be expected from this is capitalism. It's what companies do. They're gonna do this. The devs are not stupid. They know that the fans are gonna be upset, but then they also have to answer to the board. They have to answer to, the corporate folks. They have to be able to do whatever they want them to do. And these motherfuckers are not. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I curse?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. These motherfuckers don't care about creativity, fans. They got the money. They got the bag. When the game came out, everybody who's excited for it paid for the game already. The one problem that I do have, and the trend that I see this happening, is paying for a game that's live service.
Right.
That's the thing that gets me. I'm a big fan also of Warframe, which is a free-to-play game, and it gives me the option to, if I want to pay for new cosmetics or pay for a pack of something, and that's cool. And gladly, I will actually buy something, since I like the game so much, to support the company so they can make more content. But it seems that this is just the overall formula of what gaming is now. You want me to pay $80, and sometimes some cases $99 for a whole ass game, and then the content is not even there all the time. I can't play the game if I'm not online, and Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
I
that's what.
know people are pissed, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's what bothered me about it, because I've played Diablo 3 and I've played a little bit of Diablo 2. Both of those games have an offline mode. For some reason, Diablo 4 doesn't. I don't know if it's because of whatever engineering stuff that I don't know about, but it is kind of weird to have two games that were previously had, both online and offline modes, and now this one is just purely online. And on top of that, at least for the first like week or so, the servers were wonky. And if you don't have a good internet connection, you can't even play. If you're like really hardcore, you can't play on the hardest difficulty. You can't go to hardcore mode, because if your internet go out, your character's gone.
Do you know how many times, like, this shit even happened today? I was like early in the morning. I was playing a couple of rounds with my brother, and then something happened, and my character's running around. I'm playing as a rogue, running around, and then all the enemies are just running in place. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And then, like, as soon as it slingshots you back to where you started, and then my character's dead. And I'm like, could you imagine if I was playing on hardcore mode? Like, I'm pissed right now. Like, I didn't even get taken out by anybody strong. Like,
right. You got taken out by the internet. Right. Yeah, it's kind of wild to see that pushback, or this just the back and forth between the devs and the fans. And on one side, like, I do feel that some of the fans are kind of going a little overboard with it, like just being nasty and being rude. Because there's one thing to be critical, but then like to just be like, hey, these guys are stupid and blah 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 blah. And it's like, also, guys, we don't know how to make these things. I don't know how much of it is BS, and I don't know how much of it is, problems they're actually trying to fix.
The thing is, also, we're not game developers, even though we can tend to say, we played games for how many years, we know how certain mechanics works and everything else, but we're not developing the game. But what we can say is that we know how organization goes. We know how corporate is. We know how, if we did want to implement some kind of mechanics into the game where people can be happy with certain things, quality of life issues, that these things can be implemented. I think that, yes, you're going to get anger from the fans and everything else, and I do agree that it should be handled a certain way, because these dudes got families or not, or they're people, they're humans like you, right? So you want to have, I know I've lived life long enough to know that I could be very critical and let you know how disappointed I am, and not make you feel like shit for it,
right?
Because that's just a human interaction thing, but it's I think with the fans, you got like a bunch of folks who just like the attention, who like the overall discourse. I call them agents of chaos. Like, your only purpose here is just to come and cause chaos and leave. Like, you don't have any real like a chaotic evil, almost, if you want to call it.
Right.
But it's what it is. You'll get those kind of elements in there. But it seems that look, with what they did with the game, I feel the anger, man. It's real, like, but I think if the developers were more upfront, from jump, and told everybody, said, listen, we want to implement a lot of things. If they had released a patch notes out early and said, look, this is what we have planned, and then get the community feedback from it, then it would be one thing. But to just bring it on everybody, especially, and once again, you did mention of the fact that, having the online mode and the offline mode. Now, I think that this is by design. This is one thing I will get pissed at the devs for, because now you're forcing me to pay for a game that does not have an online mode. And even to bring that up and say, hey, why is this feature not here? It's now frowned upon. Why is that the new norm?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and that's the way that most trends happen, right? The things they just get taken away slowly, and then we just accept the thing as the new norm.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that really pissed me off, because I'm just like, no, don't force me to buy a game. Like, if I buy, like, I played prior to this, I was playing Wulong Fallen Dynasty, and everything is there. I paid full price for the game. I got all the elements, the gear, the life. If I want to get the downloadable content, I could pay a little extra for that, but everything is there. I don't have to wait to go online. I don't have to farm. I don't have to do any of these things. The game is pretty straight through, and I expect that for a game that I paid for, that I want to enjoy single player.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going into a whole live service, give me the option, put a decent campaign in there, and give me the option to say, oh, if I want to go online with my friends, I can go online with my friends.
Yeah.
We don't have that, so it's just what it is.
So what do you think that, or how do you think we can get back, or do you think rather we can ever get back to those old ways where, like, you know, back in the PS3 360 days where everybody was just having a good time? There weren't like 11,000 live service games. There weren't microtransactions and all these things going on with streamers and controversy. Do you think we'll ever have that vibe or that moment ever again?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'm going to sound a little bit cliche with this, but the only way to truly do this is to support your indie developers, support people who make the content that you want to see. I mean, honestly, the people who make these decisions that we tend to hate, but then we kind of like, well, that's just the way it is. The people are not creative. They don't have our best interests at heart. They have their pockets' interest at heart. So
yeah,
them making us feel awesome and cool and fine when we play as a barbarian with an overpowered hammer of the ancients, getting that cool rush. You're like, oh, I just defeated like 1,000 dudes on one screen. That stuff is fun for us, but for them, it's like, yeah, put that shit in there so we can make this money. I don't care about any of it.
Right.
In fact, nerf it because we need them in there longer so we can get more shit from them. Throw a couple of cosmetics. Yeah, but you know, the fans don't like that. I don't give a shit. I'm the one paying the bills. Do what I said.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? Once we understand that these are the kind of people that are running things, and you know, we start to see people that, you know, are making the content that we like, give them the money. Once the people see, you know, the corporate folks see what's going on, they're going to be like, okay, well, shit, you know, the only thing we understand is numbers. Are everything is going down, stocks are falling, all this other shit. So like,
yeah,
well, that's just the only way, to be quite honest. If we really want the change, then we have to really put the sacrifice out there. If you enjoy Diablo, yeah, that's great and everything. But if tomorrow you heard that they're going to do something weird and outlandish with the game that you don't like, then stop playing. That's really what, you know. I can't tell you anything else. I mean, it's not going to change. I'm not going to have any, you know, sit down Jesus moment with you know, that's never going to happen. So
sit down with Lilith and Inarius. Hey guys.
Exactly. Like, I know you kind of, Lilith, I vibe with you. Inarius, you an asshole. I think you need to. Personally, that's what I think in the story.
Oh yeah, yo, can we talk about that real quick? Yo,
yeah,
Inarius is like the most pig-headed, foolhardy person. I can't even think of another adjective that I've ever seen. He's like the worst. And like literally all he wanted was stuff for himself. Like that whole campaign, he didn't care about his followers. He didn't care about Sanctuary. He didn't care about anybody but trying to get back up to, you know, the high heavens. And they didn't even want him.
Yeah, and you know what? Inarius is a conservative.
yeah, he is. If you think about it.
And Lilith, I'm gonna be real. I'm one of the only people that actually felt bad going after Lilith, because I
did too.
Out here telling people how to live their life. I mean, it ain't my fault that they're going around killing each other and doing all kinds of fucked up shit. But I'm just saying, yo, just be free.
Yeah, that's all she wanted.
It's what you want. If you want, then you need to go to therapy for that shit. I told you to be free. I ain't tell you to go and kill this motherfucker. Like,
right.
Just, it is. But yeah, I kind of felt bad. I felt the way. I was like, yo, she's talking some truth.
She's a revolutionary.
Hell yeah. You know, they demonized her, made her look like big old horns and shit and everything. Yeah. So what? Every time we fight against a man, we gotta look like demons and shit. Like, you know,
oh my god. But speaking of the man and speaking of supporting indies and pushing back and getting together and creating our own spaces, right now in America, we have another tumultuous event happening, and it's been going on for a few months now, but now it's even bigger than it has been, the writer's strike / the SAG strike. So I feel like this may be the moment that kind of like snowballs into so many other industries. You know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, acting and writing, gaming, comics, all over the place. Because this is the moment where it's like we need to make some moves. And how do you feel that people in the animation and comic industry should move at this time with all this stuff going on? Because I know there's a lot of confusion and a lot of misdirection and misinformation happening right now. So how do you feel about all of this, and what would you say to folks that are trying to like figure out what to do with themselves as an independent artist?
Well, the one thing I will say is this. I remember when I was working in animation, years ago, what, and just to give you a brief history, like I was working at animation studios and bouncing at night. So I remember one of the reasons why I had to do that was because animation wasn't paying me enough. One, and I got no benefits. Um, and even though being a bouncer, I don't get benefits either. But I was making enough to pay for some sort of insurance, right? At that point. Until, animation just didn't become sustainable anymore. I was living on the East Coast. I was living here in New York. I was working for animation studios, here in the city, but most of the studios were out in LA. I couldn't afford to move out there. Um, so after a while, Nickelodeon closed its doors. A lot of other animation studios started closing their doors, and it just wasn't secure. It was always gig to gig. And I remember, and this is like early 2000s. This isn't like just a few years ago. So I remember back then saying, "Yo, what the fuck? Why can't we get unionized?" People used to look at me like I had another head growing out the side of my neck. Talking about unionization, talking about getting paid for overtime, talking about getting benefits, and they're like, "Yo, this is the way that this industry works." The moment you got a little bit too uppity about that shit, people looked at you side eye, and you'd probably get like like what they call shadow banned now. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're not telling you that you're blacklisted, but at the same time, you kind of are because like this motherfucker's always causing trouble. So it wasn't as much as I loved working in animation. Some of the people I worked with were really good and really cool people. I couldn't stand the business as a whole because you never felt secure. You never felt that you can. I never knew when the next gig was coming,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very competitive. It's not to say like, people are looking out to, screw each other, even though that does happen, but it's not like people are looking out to screw each other to the point of like sabotaging someone's work or whatever. But competitive in the nature is that everyone's trying to do the same thing. So you're trying to go for a gig and, people are like, "Hey, I'm going for the same gig. Oh, I wish you luck." But secret, you're like, "I need that fucking job." Like,
Yeah.
So to have that, and what I'm seeing now is that a lot of these, Gen Zers and everything are fighting for these rights because there's no reason why you should be working for a studio for like 12 hours a day at your art station doing work, getting paid menial, money, and the moment that you tell the studio that you can't come in because you're not feeling well or whatever the case is, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, fine," but then they'll make a note of it and say, "We can't rely on this animator or whatever storyboard artist because they're not going to be here when we need them. They're not going to be here to work the more time that we're not going to pay them for." It's ridiculous. So I'm glad that a lot of people are starting to fight for that now. And this is something that I've always said for a very long time is like you can't have this much imbalance in every aspect of society, whether it's in entertainment, art, uh, working for the city, like whatever. You can't have all of this imbalance and then just expect it to just go away or kind of work itself out. The scale is going to tip so much to the point it's going to tip at the place that you don't want it to. So I think what we're starting to see now, it's tipping in a place that nobody wants to be at. You got the higher ups who want to maintain what they have and how the system has been working. And you have the people who are the actual workers who want to continue working because it's how they make their livelihood, but they're getting shafted and they have to sacrifice that in order to tell you to act right.
Mm.
That's you know, and now so now I'm put in a position where if I'm an actor or an artist and I'm striking, I can't work for a long time. My stream of income is gone. But now I have to do this in order to tell you how much you need me and how your system isn't working. When you can clearly see that it's not working, but you decide to keep on going with it anyway. And it's a messed up thing, I'm all for, I'm in full support of the actors, the writers, everyone who's striking right now has a reason to strike, and I support all of them. I don't give a shit what they are.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I saw it was UPS is
Yep.
striking. You got flight attendants who are getting ready to all of them, all them men them need to strike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bullshit.
Like it's getting out of hand. Like the
Yeah.
fact that, you know what really got to me? Because I think I
Mm.
even saw you tweet about a story too. It was months ago when it first started, and like all these people were tweeting about their stories about working at Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or whatever. I'm just like, yo, Craig McCracken, Gendy Tartakovsky, the people that made the shows that I grew up with was like suffering this much with trying to survive making these great cartoons. It's like, this is insane.
Yeah,
Like these people forged not only like great careers, but they casted out great childhoods for so many of us growing up. I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up with a lot of their stuff. So they hear that, it was just like heartbreaking. So like now I'm just like, yeah, just take it all down, burn it all down, kick Bob Eager out, take his mansion, you know, get them all, put them all on a spaceship, send them out somewhere, because like this is ridiculous.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, well, then again, you know, you're talking to me. I am a super anti-capitalist as well. So, like, you know, you talking, bring everything down is like music to my ears when you talk about that shit.
Yeah.
I'm all good with it. But yeah, I mean, look, and for the people who are like, well, you know, it shouldn't be. I don't care. I don't give a shit with what they think. It's just, it's what it is. It's where we've gotten to. And in order for you to understand it, if you really want to understand it, you have to look at the history of how we got here, what we accepted, what we, you know, it's just like what we were talking about before with Diablo.
Mm-hmm.
What is the new norm and why do we accept it as the new norm?
Right.
You know, they want you to play this live service game. They want you to pay for it, just like this situation. They want you to work for more hours and they don't want to pay you and they don't want to give you any benefits. Why is that normal? Why is that the thing that is equating with, well, you work hard in this country, you get what you need, you get what you want? Why is working hard being unhealthy? Why is working hard being the thing that can possibly kill me?
Mm-hmm.
Why is life like that way in the first place? That's not fucking normal. I don't care what anybody says. That this whole, like, I have to put myself on the line, work 1,000 hours at a job or work 5 jobs in order to literally pay for a box studio apartment. Like, bruh, what's the point? I mean, at that point, it's like, and once you understand that this is the aspect of the system and the way that it's built, it kind of frees you.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that this isn't normal. Thank God nothing's wrong with me, because I made this shit up. If it was up to me, this wouldn't be this way. But it's what it is. So, you know, you have years and decades even of so much imbalance that goes on that it'll erupt. It'll erupt.
You know what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the ease of that lifestyle, right? Like people will be mad about something. Like for instance, the Netflix password thing. They were cracking down on that. They switched it up, and now they had a report come out, an article come out, and said their users jumped up by like 100% or 1,000%. And it's just like, what happened to all the people that was angry? What happened to all the people that didn't want to pay for it? And it's like, oh, it's because it was easy. Because they really wanted to see Stranger Things. They really wanted to watch Love Island or whatever show is on there. And it's just like, yeah, why is that? You know what I'm saying? Why is that normal? Just because it's easy doesn't mean it should be a thing.
That's my thing. It's like, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, would realize you don't realize how much power you have as a person until you grow in numbers. when if you don't like a certain thing, how many things that we know have gotten shut down once everybody decides we're boycotting this one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that boycotting works more for people who fight for marginalized groups than it does for actual, groups on the other side, if you want to call it? So, like, the reason why is because groups on the other side are fighting for bullshit. Did them saying, "Oh, I'm boycotting," Bud Light because they support trans lives. I'm like, nigga, we ain't need you anyway. Like, really? Like, that's what it is. And you think about it, most of the people who are on the side of being marginalized are the trendsetters, the ones that actually, create culture, create things that people on the right will ultimately consume and call it hip and cool. But it's just the way we fucking live.
Mm-hmm.
Them, it's just something that they could dissect and take from, make some money off of it, and then whatever. But when it comes to us trying to do the same thing, it's like, nah, you can't do that. So that's why when we boycott, it's more important. It has more of an effect than anything else, because we're actually boycotting for something that's substantial and something that makes sense, as opposed to, but I think that, we tend to forget how much power that we do have when we talk about certain companies not doing what they're supposed to be doing and saying, look, we're going to stop, supporting this. We're going to, not subscribe to this, this streaming network for about 3 or 4 months, see how they feel. If it's done in mass, they'll feel it.
Mm-hmm.
They really will. But, once again, it's like convenience and people not wanting to sacrifice and everything. And
yeah. We just became too comfortable, but I really enjoyed how you speak. Like, you should be a public speaker. I don't know if you do that on the side, but you should, bro, because what I admire about you is how you see things, and I love that you put that into your work, into your comics. The Bouncer, for instance. And what's really thrilling about it is because you're using a very specific style, right? The Japanese manga anime style, and you're putting us in it in a very respectful, non-stereotypical way, and you're also putting some heavy-hitting issues and topics in it. And I want to know, was this always the case for you, or was that something that built up gradually where you're just like, you know what, F it, I just want to like say what I gotta say, and if people like it, they like it, and if people rock with me, then we can start a revolution?
That's, you know what it is? It was a bit of a roller coaster, because of course, when I was younger, in high school, I had you're gonna laugh at this. I had a group of black superheroes, and they were called Armageddon X. I don't know why. X-Men was dope. I loved X-Men. I was like, I'm gonna call my shit Armageddon. I was like 16, right? So I mean, but they were like not only just the superhero group, but they were like revolutionaries. They were like against the man and all that other stuff and everything. And then when I started doing this stuff professionally, then I started making characters that were more, I guess you would say marketable, try to come up with a couple of different little storylines and everything that people would like. And this wasn't coming from, it didn't come from in here. I just was doing things that I thought people would like.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say people, I mean not just our people, but white folks too.
Yeah.
I was like, if I get white folks to like my shit, then I'm legit, right? Once again, young. And I was like, all right. And then at one point, what I started seeing was a lot of the things that I was inspired by. One of the best times for me was going to Chinatown to get anime, which is something that's, for the kids coming up now, you can just go to Crunchyroll and do that shit. I used to have to make this an actual like schedule to get up early Saturday morning. Made sure this is the morning right after I got paid from work. Run down to Chinatown to a specific location, wait for this store to open, and get my anime on VHS. Right. So, I remember getting non-subtitled or dubbed episodes of Dragon Ball
Oh man.
That's 5 episodes for $10.
Oh wow.
Did you? Yeah, no. Me and my brother used to sit back and watch these things and make the story up. Hey, they talk about this shit. Now, Cheetah was saying this. I recognize that Japanese word from the last episode and meant that shit. And then we're making the shit up as we're going along. That's how we really got into it. And then we get into other things and all different anime series. Same thing with Neon Genesis. We didn't know what the fuck was going on with Neon Genesis Evangelion because we were just like, what? Why is it so angsty? Once again, and I'm watching another anime that was like dubbed or whatever. That wasn't dubbed or subbed or anything. And I remember seeing all this stuff and wanting to think like, where's black folks in this shit?
Mm.
So I made this whole thing called DSX, which was called Dread Society X. It was like this post-apocalyptic story. It had a group of characters who were done. I styled all of them to look very anime.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, this was like, I think 2005, no one was really here for it. There was nobody. Everybody I pitched it to when I was working in animation at the time, I literally got I don't think anyone is going to like this. I don't think anyone is ready for this right now. And I spent maybe about 6 months animating a short as a proof of concept for it.
Wow.
By myself. I think I had like maybe 2 other people that helped me with a few things. And then that was a labor of love because I really wanted to see that. And this is before Boondocks, before Afro Samurai and everything. And a lot of people, it was funny because when Boondocks finally came on, a lot of people was like, yo, Chuck, they trying to do what you do. And I'm like, that's good because I need more of this. Like, this is, a lot of people were like, yo, ain't you, like, they trying to take what you, I don't care. I just want to see us in some shit. Like, that's the point of me doing this, right? Not to mention, like, half of the people that worked on Boondocks, I knew personally already. So it was just like, yeah, like, I'm glad that this is what's happening. They beat me to the punch. I don't give a shit. I just want to see us represented on screen in a certain way. Like, I don't want to see the big, as much as I love Dragon Ball, but the motherfucker Akira Toriyama drawing us looking fucked up.
Yeah.
So we kind of excuse that, but the more older I get, I'm like, nah, Akira, I can't fucking excuse you, man, because you're a grown man, intelligent enough to know how to write a story. You're intelligent to know how racism impacts people. Stop that shit.
They changed Mr. Popo, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. I think he's blue now or something like that.
He's blue or some shit. Yeah. It doesn't take away the yeah, he's dark blue. It's still fucked up. Like, what are you talking about? But I think that that was one of the things for me. So I went and I did that, and that got denied left and right. I remember that was a very painful point where I was bouncing around LA for a while trying to pitch this thing, and people were like, yo, on the sides, like, yo, that shit is dope, man. I don't think we could air this. I don't think we could do anything with this.
Wow.
And you get and I was like, so why the fuck did you meet up with me? Why are you telling me this shit is dope if you're not even thinking about, and it's like, and people would say, I don't think that everybody wants an all black cast. So I went in and personally made a white character in there. And it wasn't like anything crazy where I was making all these black, like, fuck white man all day. It wasn't anything. Right. It was basic. It just happened to have a full cast of black characters. And, they just wasn't trying to hear it. So maybe I wasn't talking to the right people or whatever the case is. But I came back from LA and I was very discouraged. I didn't know what I was going to do. And at the time I was still, at this point, I stopped working in animation completely. I was a bouncer full time.
Mm. And
I remember just talking a lot of shit about, what I was going through, working at bars, dealing with people. And people, I had one friend of mine was laughing and said, yo, hey, you should write a book about that shit. I was like, nobody going to, read anything about a bouncer. And I think one day, me and the dude that I was working with, Stevie, was at the door, and something, I can't even remember what it was. Something funny happened. And I went and wrote it as like a comedy skit. And I was like, maybe I should do this live action or something and everything. And then I just went home and drew the characters. And then I created like 4 different comic strips. And I was like, I guess. I put it out, like, I didn't care. I was like, hey, look, this is This is me. I'm a bouncer and I work in front of a bar. Y'all know me already. Look, this is a little comic about it. And I just did it as a one-time joke. I did like 4 of them.
And was this traditional or digital work?
This was all hand drawn digitally.
Okay.
You know, at the time I already had a setup much like this one, and I just went home one night from work, drunk as hell, and just drew a whole bunch of the characters and like little scenarios and everything. And then I just put it up, and the amount of people that commented, liked, and shared, and like I posted them, went to sleep, went to work, didn't look at anything, and then I think it was something like 11 hours later, I looked on my Facebook, and I had thousands of people just like, I was like, oh, okay,
That's amazing.
So it was just one of those things where I just decided to keep doing it. And it became more of a therapeutic thing for me because I'd go through some crazy shit at work and I would just come home and write a comic about it and then just put it up and people would just laugh at it and like laugh at my pain with me. It was what it was. And it just started to become a thing. So every week I looked forward to making a new comic and I would just keep putting it up there to share. I think I have over about 450 strips.
Wow.
I want to say about, yeah. This is crazy. I was putting the books together. Like I have like 3 volumes of them. And I'm putting them together and I'm looking, I'm like, Jesus Christ. And that's the 3 books collected are like still only half of what I've done.
Right.
I was like, Jesus Christ. What was I going through at that time? Oh man, but yeah, it was definitely one of those things. And I just decided that at the time there was such a big social shift that was going on around the time of like 2014 where there were a lot of norms being broken, you know, a lot of nuance and conversation. And I wanted to grow with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted to grow with that, and I think having the character as the bouncer and having, you know, Yamaya inside there, like giving their commentary on this and putting that also into the bar culture became one of those things where I was like, all right, I can vibe with this. This is gives me the voice. I don't like arguing with people. I used to do that, arguing with people on social media. I don't like doing it because there's nothing to gain from it. There's no solution, no resolution. People just come on, you know, because it's a social platform. They come to yell at you, not to actually understand you. So I don't see the point in giving opinions on social media that's not backed up by anything. I'd rather tell a story and get people to analyze that, see what I was thinking, see how I was interpreting something. They may agree with it, they may disagree with it, and if they agree with it, cool, have a conversation about it. Disagree with it, cool, have a conversation about it. You don't have to have it with me. I did my job. I put out the content, I put out the art, I put out the idea. You take it how you take it. And I think I felt more satisfied doing that, which was just to sit back and look at the way people engaged with what I did, which a lot of times I'll have people come up to me and be like, yo, man, that one strip and bounce was mad deep. Man, had me thinking. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was like at one time where he was talking about like Harambe. And I was like, oh, I was drunk. I had nothing special for that shit.
I love that. I love when people will like come up and they'll make a whole explanation about something and you probably weren't even, you know, I love that.
But the thing is that's amazing about that is you're not thinking about it when you're creating the thing. You subconsciously were probably thinking about it, but you yourself were just like, this is just either fun or I just feel sad or I feel angry or whatever. And then you just make the work and someone resonates with it. And I think that to me is the true success of being an artist, right? When you make something that has enough for people to take it and just say, it vibed with me like this. Whether I agree with it, whether I think it's the most vile thing I ever saw, or whatever, it validates the fact that you decided to say, okay, I'm going to create a thing. And I put it out there and it got seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's its own idea. It's its own flow of consciousness now that someone can now partake in and accept into their own. I mean, I think that to me is true success. Like if you want to define success with money and everything else, I mean, you can fucking become a stockbroker and become successful. That doesn't, if you want,
Yeah.
you can make a lot of money doing that and it doesn't take that much work. So, I think that if you want to create something that has certain meanings, something that's going to be remembered for a very long time, I mean, look at some of the things that inspire us, even up until this point. Like I could listen to Denise Williams Free, right? That came out when I was young. And I listen to it now and I'll still feel as inspired after I listen to it. That song is how that song has gone to college and had 3 divorces.
Not 3 divorces.
Like, but that song and what she created back then was like very meaningful. And it was a very simple thing, but you felt everything in that song. And so you kind of like, you want your art to do the same. You want years from now where people look at it and be like, yeah, that inspired me for some shit. Even if it's one person, 2 people, 3 people, 100 people, that's all. But as long as it inspires something, it's left out there. I love that. That's one of the things that I do love.
And I love that. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm done. Yeah.
I was going to say that I love that you said that. The impact of art. Mm-hmm. That's the critical point of this whole thing, and I feel like now a lot of people are just creating. I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like a lot of people, at least online, are creating just to create, because it's like, hey, you're on social media, you're a content creator, you got to put something up like every day, you got to put something up every 5 seconds, you got to have something new all the time. And I feel like when you have that moment of repetition, it kind of dilutes the message, it dilutes what you were originally intending to do. So the fact that you create on your own time, right, and you create when you're ready, makes your work and makes the bouncer more impactful than anything else that might be up like every day. And I want to ask you, because of the popularity and because of the what I would say controversial nature of it, of the narratives that you create, have you had a lot of pushback or any, people who are extremely toxic or problematic come into your space?
Absolutely. That's a given. You exist. That happens. Like, you don't have to make art for that shit. Like,
it's like, I'm black. Hey.
It's like, oh, fuck, why do you exist? Get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, no, absolutely. I remember there's one comic I did after the whole Richard Spencer controversy. I don't know if you remember that motherfucker.
Refresh my memory.
Okay, Richard Spencer was the nouveau stylish neo-Nazi.
Oh.
He was like one of the alt-right founders, because
you know what? Yeah.
Spencer, you have I think Nick Fuentes around about that time. You had like all these guys, and Richard Spencer was the dude, the sleek back haircut, and he was in GQ's like the new face of fascism. Like these motherfuckers gave him time and magazine space. Like so yeah. I remember responding to that, and there was this whole thing when it was protests when Trump was elected, and he was talking about like, I'm not a Nazi, I just say what I want to say, and blah 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 blah. And then some dude out of nowhere came and just punched him right in the face.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Right?
There you go. Yeah.
I loved it. It became this meme, right? That was really awesome, where you had like people where you see the punch and then you hear the sonic rings come. Like, it was just like, I was like, oh, I need to do something, right? So I did it. I did a little comic, which is the bouncer. It's like you see this Richard Spencer type. Like, so I didn't draw him as sexy as he tried to look in those people. Like, I drew him, and he was like, "We don't need black people." Blah 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 blah. And the bouncer just comes out of nowhere and just punches him.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, "I'm sorry." He's a Nazi. Do I need to say why I did this shit? And the amount of people I thought it was a universal thing. I'm thinking about like, in Indiana Jones punched a Nazi in the face. I'm like, oh, you see Captain America punching the Nazi. I'm like, oh, everybody hates Nazis, right? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck it. Yeah, let's make fun of this motherfucker, right? No, I got all kinds of. I had black folks. I'll never forget this. This in one Facebook group. Facebook is such a cesspool.
It's gross. It's
so
Walmart.
horrible.
It's Walmart on the internet.
It absolutely is. This is one black girl in there, and she was like, "Your artwork is good, but I can't deal with this Antifa nonsense." And I was like, first when I looked at the thing, we all do this shit, right? You look at the comment, and you're like, "Who the fuck said this shit?" You going there? You look at what they said, and then I looked, and I was like, "This is a young black girl," and I was like, I said to myself, I was like, "This is sad."
Yeah.
Like I wanted to respond back, but then I was like, "For what?" This is just genuinely sad. It's like she was like a young Candace Owens. And it's like, and then I also had like a whole bunch of white boys who were sharing it, but they were sharing it within Nazi circles. Because they apparently, that's when I found out that Richard Spencer is not popular amongst the Nazis for real.
Oh, okay.
So I had one dude retweet my shit and says, look, even the niggers hate him.
Oh, damn.
I was like, oh,
damn.
I think I had another comic where I talk about where I had this one comic where the bouncer, they go up against some stupid enemy or whatever, and then Yemaya saves the day. It wasn't about the bouncer gets his ass beat, and then Yemaya comes and beats everybody up. And one dude is like, "Why you turn him into a simp?" I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that word means.
Right.
Like
internet language.
Yeah, it is. It's internet language. It's like more like language created to justify your bad behavior.
Yeah.
That's what you're really telling me. Because I was like, so I asked the person, I said, what the fuck is a simp? And they were like, simple motherfucker that, like, so wait, being a decent person is now considered a weakness. I just want to get this straight because you're not the kind of person that I need to be talking to or even be within the same vicinity with because you need therapy or some shit.
Yeah.
So, like, it's, so I've gotten plenty of that. And, honestly, it's one of the things that I actually do try to talk about in bounces is that toxic behavior, which is, I used to have to deal with it head on in person in your face. So confrontation wasn't a thing for me. Physical confrontation wasn't a thing for me. So I tell them motherfucker straight up, like, look, this is what it is. It's what it is. The way that most people would behave in real life and in the way I see them on the internet, I'm like, this is honestly, if the things that you're saying right now, if you saw the person, when you have a debate with someone, you look at them face to face, eye to eye, and you're seeing another person standing in front of you, you're going to say what you're going to say, but at the same time, you're also taking in the fact that this is another human being.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the internet is that it absolves you of that. You don't have to look at someone in the face or eye to eye or see their situation to say the most vile thing that you could possibly say to them. So, that's one thing that, I used to see in a lot of spaces. And at the end of the day, even when I did see the toxic stuff, I didn't really engage. Most of the time, I just put the shit up and like, look, my job is done. I put the work out there. Take it as you take it. I don't, it's not up to me at this point. It's just, you're going to take it how you take it. And after that, sometimes it does get to you because you'll talk about a particular thing and be like, I wasn't even trying to say that. Like, how did you take what I said from this and put it into but then, I found a freedom in absolutely not caring anymore about that. It's just, it gives me the artistic freedom of just being myself and then just letting the work do that. It's so much better.
Absolutely.
You feel like you're performing for people,
Yo, what's good? This video is sponsored by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Patreon is an incredible platform that enables me to create my art and YouTube content full time. Patreon is also a space that allows me to connect with you, the fans, viewers, and members on a deeper level. As a Patreon member, you'll receive early access to new projects, exclusive patron-only content and merch, and many other incredible perks such as your name being featured in a video. I post art and content on the Habtoons Patreon quite frequently, and there's always something new around the corner. Interested? You can join today and support the continued growth of the Habtoons brand. Link in the description below. Yo, and we are back with the Art Block here with Chuck Collins, and we are about to draw some really cool stuff while we're chatting. So enjoy the views, guys. How you still feeling, Chuck? You still feeling good?
Oh, I'm good, man. Actually, like while we were here and finished the chicken that I made last night, you know, I was really hyped up. I made some chicken late last night, and I was like, "Yo, hook up this chicken." And
yeah,
I was like, I remember right before we were gonna do this, I was sitting there like, I should eat something before I go. I'm like, I'll be all right.
Yeah, don't come on here hungry.
and then when you were like, all right, so let's we go stretch our legs and stuff, so I was like, I'm gonna go eat 2 pieces of chicken right
now. Oh my god, you've got a Cintiq, right?
I got a XP pen.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's antique, but without the Wacom logo, so that makes it a lot more cheaper.
Ah, got you.
It works just the same. I used to be one of those like, I can only get Wacom.
Yeah.
And my pockets are like, nigga, you better get something else.
You better buy one of them other joints.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite pleasantly surprised because it works so good.
Yeah, I think I've heard some good stuff about XP Pen.
Yeah, it's really good.
Recent years.
Oh, okay. So we can start going. We start doing
Yeah.
That goes with it. Mumia is a former Black Panther, and he's on death row right now. And he's on death row for killing 2 police officers, and you know they're trying to get the sentence overturned because they had no evidence against him, because he actually did it in self-defense. But he was also a radio show host that spoke very critically against the police department. I think it was in Philly at the time, and so he's been in prison. This is since the 80s, and he's still alive now, and he's still been on death row. They've never went through with the execution, but he's a very prominent voice. He does a lot of things for prison radio, where he does these audio essays based on some of the things that are happening in the world. And I think that Boondocks at one point had an episode where they had a character that was on there that was supposed to be like Mumia. And unless you knew about the trial that was going on at the time, you didn't necessarily know what they were talking about. It's like, oh, it's just Dewey's just really hyped about this guy who, you know, about this guy who's in prison and he's on death row and everything. And I was like, no, this whole episode is about Mumia.
Yo, that's crazy. Because I remember that episode, and it was like strangely emotional, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was because of that. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people tend to forget, of how crazy a lot of the commentary that Boondocks was coming with at the time. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
You know what people got stuck on though?
What was it?
The one thing I see people always talk about and bring up is the jail episode, the Booty Warrior. Oh, they'll forget everything else but that.
Everything else. Exactly. I'm just like, oh, Jesus. Which is interesting. Did you hear about what happened? You heard your man came out of prison, right?
Yeah, he mad about that.
He mad about it, man.
Yeah.
Bro, I cracked up. I was like, nah, this ain't real. He really did. He came out of prison. Oh, no. Some of the stuff dealing in the Black community. But the first episode said it all, especially when, you know, they had the whole R. Kelly thing. And I was like, and I remember at the time, because see, R. Kelly wasn't, they ain't say nothing really.
Yeah.
When, he wasn't being as scrutinized back then as he was, in more recent years. But I remember people saying to me, man, why they lying on R. Kelly like that, man? That's fucked up. And I'm like, yo, I've always hated that motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
dude, really? Like, you out here defending this guy?
Because he
And,
makes them happy with the dance songs.
bruh, come on. I think it's time that we have a talk about that. Like, honestly, we need to let certain things go. Just
Yeah.
because somebody did a really cool thing you liked when you were younger does not give them free reign to be a complete piece of shit and you defend them because of that. Like, we
Absolutely.
really need to stop that. Like, if that was the case, people would be out here like literally wanting people like Bill Cosby and everything. I mean, my entire childhood is painted by Bill Cosby, but I know he's a piece of shit enough to be like, okay, look, you know what? I'm going to never watch a Cosby show again because
Yeah.
I can't support this. But that was my entire childhood. At the same time, but a lot of people have a problem with that disconnect,
Yeah.
nostalgia, and they get emotional about it, and it's like whatever. But
And to some degree, I kind of understand it because what happens is when people are engaging in these things, whether it's music or TV or whatever, you build emotional connections to it. Maybe when R. Kelly came out, somebody got married and they used it as their wedding song, or when Cosby came out, one of their kids went to college. So like, to some degree, I see it, but at the same time, it's like we have to learn how to dissociate that so
right,
we can be critical.
because it kind of goes back to what I said before. Is like when we're talking about like creativity and making the thing and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, we made that and we put it out into the world, and how they see it is what they see it. Now it comes into question is that when I created the thing and I was living my life as a piece of shit, did my creativity come from a place of authenticity?
Mm-hmm.
Did it come from a place that was real, in all honesty? And with some people, because in the past, I'd say several years, it's been a funeral march of how many people that I used to love when I was younger, or even up until a few years ago, that showed they ass, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man, I can't fuck with you no more.
Yeah.
And and it kind of makes me feel now every time I listen to the work that they did prior to whatever happened. It's like, was that from a genuine place? Was that from a place that you just made because you thought people would like that, or whatever the case is? It's like when I listen to certain comedians, right?
Oof. Yeah.
Like, I remember I used to be a big Louis C.K. fan until all this
Same.
shit happened. And when, I don't know, a lot of people don't like to talk about that whole thing, but a lot of people's like, oh, it still doesn't take away the fact that his comedy is good. I was like, was it though? Now I have to really think about it. Part of the reasons why we really liked Louis C.K. back then was because he spoke to a part of ourselves, of the way that we view the world, and you know question this tropey masculine type person, and just at least for me, seeing it as a point of view of like, oh well, this is a different kind of take on masculinity, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I had this take or I had these feelings with or without Lewis. It just felt that he knew how to better communicate it than me. But now that I see what he's done and I know what he's done, I feel like he's more of a bigger asshole because you know what you did was wrong. You chose to do it anyway, and you have the audacity to get on the stage and tell me how to be a good dude.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, at the same time, it's like, I can't even believe in the authenticity of the artist or the person that made the thing. So I don't know. That's up for people who are better versed in that stuff to talk about. I don't know. I just kind of call it as I see it, but
Yeah.
well, whatever. It's just what it is. I have no idea what I'm doing now. I've never drawn on
Hey,
this.
that's
Feels so crazy.
that's fine. You're doing amazing over there.
I have no idea
Look
what
at
I'm
look
doing.
at the look at him. Look at him. He's just having a good time. He's happy.
Exactly.
He's happy.
He's next to this dude. This dude's over here, and they, you know what? He's like, your dude looks serious, and he looks cool. He looks sexy. Bounce is just like, that's the thing.
So good. I gotta ask you the generic question that everybody gets asked whenever they go somewhere. What's your inspiration, Chuck? Where did you get your style from?
I don't know, man. I woke up like this. Let me see. No, I honestly couldn't really tell you. It comes from so many different places. I tell you the first thing I ever saw that made me say I'm gonna do that for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
Rock and Rule. I don't know if you ever saw.
Say that one more time.
Rock and Rule.
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh man, I gotta send that to you. It is it's an animated movie that came out, I think, in 1981 or two, I want to say.
Uh-huh.
And the interesting thing was it was a post-apocalyptic thing. It was more geared towards adults than it was for children.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like these anthropomorphic looking characters who had made a band, and there was like music from like Iggy Pop and Earth, Wind, and Fire in there. And I just remember seeing this whole movie, and it was done so beautifully. I just remember seeing it and being like, I love that, and I want to do that. I don't know what this animation thing is, but I want to do that shit.
Yeah.
And that was where some of that came from. But I don't know. I think, recently, I guess more of my inspiration, it shifts.
Mm-hmm.
It really shifts. I have Kim Jong-ji's book over here.
Legend.
That the sketch. It's like I think it's the 2011 sketchbook.
Yeah.
It was, and I would study the hell out of it, and it would be one of those things where I remember getting it from him, and he actually is a custom drawing in there that he did.
Nice.
That's really dope. And I remember studying that for a while, and then I have over here. I have the Spider-Verse, the first movie, the Spider-Verse art.
Hey, check this out. Hold on. Check this out.
What is it? What you got?
From the new one.
See, I got the old one right here.
Yeah.
Second, yep. There it is. This is the first one.
Nice. I didn't even know they had a first one. That's the crazy part.
That's the first one from the first movie, and I was like, I remember. First of all, yeah, I think Spider-Verse changed everything for me. Like,
absolutely.
I honestly had gotten to the point now. I was like, if it ain't Spider-Verse or Arcane style of stuff, y'all no. I need to see more stuff like this. If it ain't meeting that quality, I ain't fucking with it.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that.
I don't know anymore, man.
You know,
I'm inspired by life, really, to be quite honest.
Yeah. It's not the artisan answer. Yes, I'm inspired by life. Yes, I'm an artist.
I know, right?
I'm an actor. Yes, of course.
I'm inspired by life. Definitely, people should live their lives and be. I have no idea why I'm doing an English accent. But that's the thing. It's like I get pretty rejuvenated whenever I come back from hanging out with a group of friends and just, we have a good time. We're talking some shit and everything else. And
yeah,
I think that a lot of people tend to take that for granted. Actually spending time with people, and their situations, their lives, the way that they live, that kind of influences me and fuels the creativity a bit. I remember, like, I wouldn't. There were times I used to feel really stumped when I first started doing bounce,
mm-hmm.
and then from there, like I would just go hang out at the bar, especially being in Brooklyn here at Way Station. I don't know if you remember that bar, the Way
Yeah,
Station.
they had a TARDIS in there.
Yep, that was my joint. I used to know the owner, and
Nice.
I used to go there week after week, and I would sit there, bring my sketchbook, a drink, draw, talk shit with people, and it was very Charles Bukowski type thing. Like, I'm trying to say I needed alcohol to get uh, inspired, but because technically my liver couldn't take that if that was the case.
Right.
But it became one of those things where it was like a little bit of a weekend ritual. It would be like something to look forward to, just to go and have times with friends, and then I'd look at my sketchbook the next day and just start doing all kinds of crazy shit, and being like, oh, I'm inspired by this, that, and the third, and you know, it was pretty dope. But yeah, that's pretty much my inspiration. I think living life, and yeah, I know it sounds really harsh. Living life is actually like, think that's part of the reason why a lot of things annoy me, because I'm like, there's so much good things to do if we don't restrict ourselves based on the bullshit that we keep seeing all the time.
Yeah.
And there's so much to be had when you don't have to worry about shit, when your needs are finally met and you're just like, yo, I'm just out here, vibing with some good people, having a good time. And,
Yeah.
that's kind of what life is supposed to be, I guess. Having a little
Supposedly.
anxiety over, particular things, like stressing out about bills and all that stuff, it puts a damper on things.
Yeah. It
Sometimes
really
you just gotta
does.
come out of that and live your life and say, you know what? Let's get some, let's get some regular life things going. Let's live and make the things that matter count, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's we all got the grind to go through, but sometimes we got to remember that it's more than that.
I think it's hard for people, going back to what we were saying earlier about like the whole like Netflix and the strikes and all this stuff. I think what it is that people become tired, right? And then it's
Yeah,
like, hey, whatever's the easiest thing, I'm just going to do that. Whether it's about their health, whether it's about their wealth or anything else, it's like, let me find the easiest thing, 'cause I don't want to be stressed. And I
yeah,
and I can, to some degree, I can understand that, because stress is a lot. All these things going
yeah,
on, and people worrying
absolutely.
about like the migrant families, right? They're trying to kick them out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like, that shouldn't be a thing. And you got
Well,
people on all these sides saying, have all these opinions, like, oh, they shouldn't be here, they got to go this, they got to do that, and
oh
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, come on.
absolutely. It's like, look, don't get me wrong, you know, be vigilant. We live in a world full of fucked up shit and people looking to just wanting you to either fall in line or want to wipe you out simply because you exist.
Yeah.
Like, always remain vigilant. But because I'm all about that life. Like, if you want to, if somebody say, "Yo, Chuck, man, the revolution is tomorrow," I'm just gonna be like, my leg, my legs are still kind of fucked up because I had leg surgery last year. But
Right.
just tell me where. My hands still work. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, sometimes though, you got to take that time out, and you definitely have to remember why you're fighting that peace
Absolutely.
of wanting to just exist and be free. And
Absolutely.
that's as revolutionary as anything else. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that the self-care, revolution starts with that self-care, because we're trying to break outside the norm. We're trying to break outside of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like, oftentimes we kind of like don't we don't give ourselves that grace to just be and to just live and exist
Mm.
without the I always say, black folks in this country, and this goes in line with a lot of other marginalized folks depending on the community you come from, but we all have to live two separate lives. you
Hmm.
know um you have to be yourself around the people that you're comfortable with, in your own community, and then you have to be somebody else, you know, when you go out into the what they call the quote unquote real world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask anybody, other people don't, notably white folks, don't have to really do that.
Yeah.
Because once you're labeled as the default human, you're just seen as that. We have to be able to say, and especially now if you're a black woman, that's a whole other thing altogether, because you have to be and say, I gotta be black, I gotta be a woman, and I gotta be this other person. If you're queer, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you're black and queer. It's all, different masks we put on every day depending on where we're gonna go at. And sometimes you put on so many different masks, you don't know who you are anymore. But sometimes it's just nice to just not wear a mask and then just be completely that. Because ultimately, when you do fight the system, that's what you're fighting for. So you can live in a world where you don't have to do that all the time. You just be.
I'm telling you, you need to be a motivational speaker, man. I'm telling you. This is some profound stuff happening right here, brother.
I am not the dude. I'll say this. A lot of the times, mostly people say, "Yo, man, how you be, thinking about this stuff?" It's different when you work. I worked as a bouncer for about, say, almost 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've met every single kind of person that you could possibly meet in this business, and I've seen the most degenerative things. I've met some really great people. I've had some fun times. I've seen some of the most sickest things that humans can do. I've seen the underbelly of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So when I tell you, like, it's one thing. It's funny when I see people talk about, trigger warning, talk about like sexual assault, and say, online, I see all these conversations. It's like, yo, this is another thing when you see it completely in person, or even had to have stopped it.
Yeah.
And what it does to the person and how they move on to certain things and all kinds of stuff. So it's like most of the time when I talk about a lot of this stuff, especially it's life, it's like just me and my afterthought and reflecting on what I just saw. It's more like me trying to understand myself, what I just experienced. And one thing I will say is time and age have definitely played a factor in that, because it's just allowed me to process things, and take the lessons that I've learned and try to apply them in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you would say. But it's not. And the thing is, I personally have faith that everybody could do the same thing and probably do them a lot better than I can. So it's like, I think everybody has the same way of processing things and seeing life in that way. I also have a thing when you become a certain age. I think I say the 31-year-old, 31 years old is, if you're an asshole at 40, it's because when you were 31 years old, you just decided to be an asshole.
Right.
Like there becomes a point. It doesn't necessarily probably have to be 31 years old, but everybody comes to a point where, everybody's past experiences, whether it's trauma, whatever the case is, and it shapes us to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you have to make a choice. You kind of like, you know what? I can choose to not be this person and want to be that person. And how you go about doing that could be different. You can go to therapy, you can go to, you could just change your whole outlook and everything. But if I'm sitting here and I tell you that I don't like this new Zack Snyder movie, and then you start cursing me out because I don't like the new Superman, and then you dox me and you say, "Oh,"
so
shit.
basically,
Like,
Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. If you're sitting there doing all this kind of crazy shit, calling me the N word in my DMs, you a grown ass man. And because I'm sorry, that's a grown ass man doing that shit.
Yeah.
Then if you're gonna do that and DM me and do all that shit, and you're like 40 years old and you're doing this, you're that dude because you want to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
A lot of people get stuck in their thought processes and they don't really explore outside of themselves, outside of their community, outside of their comfort zone. So and they don't have people that tell them no. That's another thing.
Oh,
They have a lot of people that just kind of roll with whatever. So when they have those outbursts, when they have those moments where they're cursing or sending death threats to like actors and getting them to delete their Instagrams, you know what I'm saying? Like they just have nobody there to be like, hey man, maybe you should stop.
yeah.
Or person, because it could be anybody, you know.
Because honestly, like some of the things that I see, you know, especially like online and everything, man, I'm just like, yo, y'all really don't understand the way entertainment works. And you know what? Not to say that I have great experience working in entertainment, but I do know how there are levels to this shit in organization, right? So you do realize that if someone is playing the role of something that you don't like, the person didn't wake up and say, hey, I'm going to play this role. I'm going to piss it off. Somebody was the casting director for that. Okay. So I think you should talk to the casting director.
Yeah.
Or talk to the producer who probably asked the casting director to get this kind of person to play the role that you think this should have been given to somebody else.
Or make your own thing.
Make your own thing. Or how about this? This is even more revolutionary, yo. I don't think anybody's even thought about it on this level.
Uh-huh.
Find the creator who's doing the exact thing that you're asking for and go give them money, yo.
They don't do that, Chuck.
Oh,
our own people don't even do that.
I know.
I bet you if we made a poll right now on Twitter, how many of y'all been complaining about not seeing black people have watched I'm a Virgo and They Clone Tyrone? I bet you to be a low number.
Yeah. But you know what, man? I mean, you got to think, and this is the reason why I won't get too hard on it, is because of the fact that, you know, I know how that conditioning is.
Yeah.
We're in a very highly competitive. Think about every time you do something and there's always that little voice in you says, man, I gotta be like this and I gotta do that. And, you know, I'm not gonna share this other person's artwork because, you know, they'll get more work than me, or like, you know, like, that's some bullshit, man.
It really is.
We do that to each other a lot. Not because we just woke up this morning and said we're gonna do that. Mostly because it's just how the entire culture is. It's how we perceive success. It's like, in order for you to be successful, you can't trade your secrets. You have to gatekeep. You have to not amp up the next person. You can't let anybody know how you got to be successful. Like you can't trade these secrets with people. And you're like, why?
Yeah, it's wild to me because I see it happen so much, especially in the visual arts world. So much. Like I remember there was like maybe like a few months where people were just like making this joke of like, oh, that's a great work of art. What's the brush you use? And the person gets mad and it's like, they're just asking you like what brush you use. They're not asking you for $500. They just want to know because they like what you have and they want to maybe emulate that or do something on their own. I'm just like, when people ask me for stuff, I'm just like, yeah, this is what I use. I went to this site, I did this thing, I downloaded this, because you know what's that gonna hurt me? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it doesn't cost you anything, and I tell people this all the time too. This is the myth. There is no brush.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's you think that because somebody has something that you don't have, that you can't make your vision happen.
Right.
You know, like honestly, this is the first time I'm drawing on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm totally outside of my element. The cool thing is, it's like as the more I'm doing it, the more it becomes. I adapt. Because I haven't even tried out any new brushes. Brushes don't really matter because I'm trying to use what I got right now to express myself.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily they don't see it that way. They think that it's a process. They think that, you know, it's gotta be something that you did. So you're still, why can't my stuff look like that? Why can't like not it's not even like that, dude. It's
They over there doing the Tyrese. Congratulations.
oh stop it. That is like my favorite thing. That is like my favorite thing. I'm like, yo, what the hell? I was like, Tyrese, what is wrong with you, bro? Like what
Yeah.
happened to you that gosh.
He was wild for that one.
Yeah, I let him do his thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's the other thing too. It's like we tend to give importance to a lot of different people who are flawed as we are, if not even more.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm just like, come on, y'all. You know, we're sitting here worrying about celebrity lives. Look, there's nothing wrong with appreciating an artist that did a cool thing that you liked in a movie or something like that or whatever. But when you start like getting into the in and outs of their lives, and I was like, you know,
Jesus.
sometimes I see certain celebrity things. I'm like, that was nobody else's business. Y'all didn't have to share that with nobody. I really didn't need to know about that.
Yeah, I think people went far too long on the Kiki Palmer thing. It lasted for like 2 weeks. I'm like, that could have been 2 seconds, yo.
I mean, not that dude. Yeah, it really did. But the thing is, that dude had the shit coming, man. That was.
Yeah, they exposed him for a lot of stuff I saw.
I mean, yeah, this dude was the worst. I mean, there was a whole bunch of people, right? So you had him, you had Jonah Hill. Everybody was showing their
What
ass. The
Jonah
only
Hill
people who
did?
you didn't hear about that shit?
I don't be paying attention to that stuff, man. I play Diablo and draw.
You are a better man. I go on. The thing that's messed up is I try to stay off of Twitter or any social media during the course of the day.
Yeah.
Most of my social media consumption happens at night. So like I'll sit there and be like, yo, this is cool. Like when I'm in bed. Like that's when I watch like most of my like TikTok and shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't watch it if I watch it during the day, I'll like
stuck.
not do shit. So apparently when I go on, I see all the shit. So the first thing I saw was Jonah Hill had a girl that he was dating apparently. I may not have all the details, but apparently they were dating and she's a swimsuit model. And she also does like modeling for surfer gear and all kinds of stuff and everything.
Uh-huh.
And she just has like regular ass pictures of her on the beach in her swimsuit. And Jonah Hill like hit her up on his DMs talking about he's setting up boundaries and doesn't appreciate the fact that she's going around sharing her body with the world and her friends and all kinds of.
He DM'd her.
DM'd her and said, but the thing is, it's one of those things that's kind of trendy now to have all of this therapy speak in your shit.
Uh-huh.
Like these huge like therapy words and shit and say and they use these things to justify their shitty behavior.
Yeah.
And so he started using these psychological terms like, oh, you know, I'm setting boundaries. You know, I don't appreciate the way that you're going around. I'm like, well, dude, so why the hell are you? That's not setting boundaries. You're telling this girl that you don't want her to just be herself,
right?
So she can accommodate you. It's not setting boundaries. If it's setting boundaries, then you be like, yo, girl, you doing your thing. I'm gonna go over here and do my thing. We had a fun time. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah.
Right? And go find someone who won't share their body with the world. But if she was doing it before y'all got together, why the hell you bothering her for?
Right.
So basically he went off with that, and so the woman shared the DM, and yeah, so I was like, between KK Palmer's, I don't know, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever the fuck he is now, and that dude, I was just like, yeah, this sounds about legit, you know, insecure dude bullshit.
This is why we need to stop worshiping celebrities, because they're just as infallible or fallible as us.
I've been saying
and we don't need. I was walking down the street, not walking down the street. I had a event the other week, right there on Fulton by Restoration.
Exactly what that is.
Yeah.
You know, you're not too far away from me. I'm like right on McDonough.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's funny because the first time I ever saw your work was at Garchamp, the Haitian restaurant.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah. I think no. I think I saw your work before that. I just didn't make the connection if it was you.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I knew it was you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was. Well, I think it was pre-pandemic, so
It was definitely pre-pandemic for sure.
everything like the pandemic itself, was like 20 years. So
Yeah, it's a time loop,
anything
time warp.
that happened beforehand, I'm kind of confused about. I'm still kind of like, whatever. But yeah, man, I think that was just like, we're not too far away from each other.
Oh wow, we need to hang out more. Then anyway, I had an event at Nicholas Brooklyn. Across the street, there's a store, and on the window they have it written, "We need more black billionaires." And I'm like, no, we don't, because the black billionaires are just as bad as the white ones.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole black capitalism, thing. I think it was the Jay-Z that said some one.
Yeah, 444
on Clubhouse, when Clubhouse was like a thing because everybody was
when
on there
Clubhouse
because
was
of the pandemic.
good.
Oh my god! It's just everybody was like on Clubhouse talking shit. Like woke up and said, "I'm doing Clubhouse about this," and it was just like, "Oh God,
Why do
Jesus.
black women don't?"
It's on TikTok now. And it's crazy. I call it the nigga Hollywood Squares. You got like 1,000 niggas on one screen,
yes,
in little boxes, right? And they're all like, "Yo, if a man drives a taxi, does he have to pay on the first date?" And I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
really?
it's wild, man. They got nothing better to do.
And the thing that's crazy is I'll go ahead and say something like this. I'm like, yo, in the world where they just fucking overturn affirmative action, they overturn Roe v. Wade, we could be talking about all kinds of other shit. Then you scroll up, and then you have the toxic ass motherfucker who will be like, yo, they overturned Roe v. versus Wade because black women need to be put in their place. And it's a black dude saying it. And I'm like, yo.
It's always.
You can't escape the shit.
You ever seen that clip? Like, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just like, oh God.
But no, there's this clip, I think it's from Adult Swim, and it's an animation where it's like a fake podcast, and it's like a little guy on a table, and he starts talking. He's like, women's need to worship me. Men's eat chitlins, hog maws, and women, they got to look pretty. And I was like, yo, this is too accurate. Whoever made this, they've been listening on them rooms.
Seriously, them rooms be crazy. And honestly, like, it took me a while. Like, it's so messed up that, like, even when I started hearing that kind of shit, like, I used to sit to myself and say, yo, that's not serious. That motherfuckers is joking. And then, serious. You're like, yo, nah, son, they serious. I'm like,
they dead ass.
Serious. Like, this is what they doing right now? Like,
yeah,
it's just, I don't know, man. Then again, it's like when I see like the whole, back to what you were saying, the whole black capitalism thing, and it was just like, I don't think y'all understand, especially like the Jay-Z's. But see, he could do that because he's Jay-Z, right? And he already has all his money.
Yeah.
He can just sit down and say all kinds of stuff. And I think that's what most people don't pick up on. It's like, that nigga's already paid.
Mm-hmm.
So he can sit here and y'all will listen to him because you want to be like him. Y'all can listen to him talk about how to make a recipe for brownies and be like, yo, Jay-Z, you know what the fuck you talking about.
Yo, like, those are the best brownies in the world, man.
Bro, man, because Jay-Z made them shits. He know what the fuck you talking about. He's a millionaire. Like, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I think it's our, I want to say like, is a representation of like how we view success, money, life in general, and what we view and what we hold as what our values are. Like how is this a valuable thing in our overall growth as a human being?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think really, what I guess a lot of people are not expecting to be the thing.
They're not.
Yeah, I'm just going around like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at this woman's face, and I'm just trying to like draw her face.
Let's see where you at.
Coming out.
Oh, you down there? I see you.
I just got like I just opened up a Pinterest and saw this model doing a face, and it does not look like the model at all.
Talk about using reference and how that applies to your workflow, because there was a whole thing for about like maybe a month on Twitter and TikTok where people are like, oh no, you can't do that, that's cheating, that's tracing, that's bad, you can't do that, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, do y'all realize what goes on out here?
You gotta do that voice. You gotta do that voice again. That voice is awesome. Every time when I hear it. Oh man! Every time I hear somebody complain on social media now, that's gonna be the voice that goes on.
That's what I be hearing. They sound just like that. Constipated.
Oh my god! No, I mean, dude, it's people. Once again, I think this goes back to the whole competition thing, like how we put these unexpected competition things on ourselves, like reference. Like, why is this an argument?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know why. Like, we sit here and we see something that inspires us to draw, and how do you think motherfuckers know how to do shading and light? What do you think? They just sat down one day and says, I know how light reflects off of everything. I need no reference ever. Right.
Like Van Gogh's just sitting there one day, just in the chair, like, I got it. I don't know how he sounded, but that's what I think he sounded like.
You don't know the physics of life on your of your own. You know, you don't understand the way light works. You don't know what shadows are.
They think everybody's Dr. Manhattan. That's what it is.
Exactly. Like I don't understand. Like, honestly, I'll see like certain, whatever. Like I'll look at certain things with the way light will hit an object, and I'll be like, yo, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the point is, right? The point is for us to draw based on the reality that we perceived. Each one of us sees reality differently. So
absolutely,
to reference that and try to make that into a thing, who are you to tell somebody? I mean, unless you can definitely tell the difference between someone who traced over something, and like, or blatantly stole something. But like
Andy Warhol.
Exactly. Or like if I'm seeing a light source and I'm doing a study and somebody says, "Oh, you traced it because you looked at reference," I'm like, "Well, nigga, what do you want me to do? I can't create light. Like, I don't understand what are you trying to say? Like, of course, like every great, like somebody asked me like, how do you do shading so well? I was like, just look at light, man. It's never, I don't know. I just think about like if that character was standing in a room and the light was on top of him, all the shadows would be here. That's what it is. And it's weird. I can show you techniques on how to draw it. Like if you don't, because some people want to do nice, finely rendered light sources. Some people like to do hard edge stuff like myself. I can tell you, what style, but I mean, it's going to look whack if you draw the light sources coming from two different angles and you just doing it because it looks cool.
Yeah.
But like, I think that, I don't understand what people are. Once again, this is like more shit that people want to just complain about. Like, it's one of those things. So you see somebody like complain about something on the web, and then you're like, yeah, this is not what's wrong with you, man.
Yeah.
Who hurt recently? Like, what really happened, man? Like, you're outraging because the guy saw like people, this one artist getting crazy hate because he drew Miguel O'Hara as a woman, like gender swapped him.
I think I saw a little bit of that. I try to avoid that stuff because it's just like a headache. But yeah,
why are we mad at this guy for gender swapping Miguel O'Hara? And I was like, the person who said what they said, I was like, man, dude, this is not what's wrong with you. You had a bad day, didn't you? And again,
shit on himself.
Exactly. I was like, why are you using this project your anger like this? Like, why are we doing this?
Because they ain't got no other outlet. They can't play Diablo. That's why the service is down.
Oh shit! It all comes back to Diablo. See, man, it's because of the damn nerfs destroyed the fucking algorithm of the world.
People are bored, right? It's because it's all hyperbole. Like they dramatize everything, and that's why like I try to take breaks from it because it's just like if you sitting here and doing this all day, you are hurting yourself, like physically too. Because when you are constantly doing something that's affecting your brain, it's affecting your body, and you're breaking yourself down. And it's like, if you maybe took like maybe a day off, you probably see a difference in your mood.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect. You know, it's very telling as to what people see as a priority in the things that they do. It's like, you know, you take extreme comfort in being this kind of person on the web. I remember. Oh, it's funny because you did ask me about that, like, you know, dealing with toxic stuff. Yeah, I totally forgot about this. Yeah, I think within the first few months that I was doing Bounce, I had like this stalker dude.
Oh God,
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. He would actively leave. I found out who he was, like these anonymous, you know, messages.
yeah,
They were just like really, really fucked up. Like he would say really messed up racist shit. And I finally found out who he was. Some guy in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
He wasn't even born and raised there. He was like from Europe and lived in Vietnam. And like, I found out that he was like doing that to like people on purpose. Like he was like, if I really like something, I just curse it out because, you know. I remember I was like, holy shit, man. I think that's that. I didn't feel sorry for the guy, but I felt like that's deep. That's real. Like you had to. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think after that happened, I was like, I kind of like just kept an eye out for certain people because I was like, yo, this is insane. But yeah,
sad.
that was one of the crazy things I'll never forget.
I've had some nothing as intense as a stalker, but I've definitely had a lot of angry people because I've had some. I'm a very opinionated person, and I like to engage in conversation, even if it might like make somebody feel uncomfortable. But I think like having conversations is how we evolve, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I made some videos about some video games, and like, yo, they came out like roaches, man. It's just like,
oh yeah,
they are not paying you. Why are you so angry? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get it. You know, like if I say I don't want to play something or I want to do something, it shouldn't affect you. You know,
to keep it real. You was talking about Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah,
I had the same argument with one of my brothers. It was like, he was like, I'm gonna play it. I was like, go ahead, you play. He's like, you ain't gonna play it. I know how much you like Final Fantasy. I was like, I can, honestly, but I saw what Yoshi P said, and fuck that nigga. I'm not playing this game. He was like, oh, why you gotta be like that? Because that's what it is. You gonna physically come over here and make me play the damn game? Get the hell out of here! Like, no.
Yeah, and the people that was telling me to play, I was like, buy it for me then. And they ain't say nothing else after that. Buy it for me.
Nothing. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And you know what ended up happening? I watched my brother play, and the game looks amazing.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
It's very pretty. The fighting system is great and all that stuff. But you know what? So is a lot of other games out there, and I'll enjoy those.
Yep.
And I'll play this, but I'll sit this one out. Because fuck that dude.
You know,
talking all that nonsense.
Him and I was shocked when I read about Tim Burton, bro.
Oh no, I wasn't surprised about that at all.
Cause I grew up I'm young, so like I didn't know about like a lot of his, you know, feelings towards things. So I grew up watching like Edward Scissorhands and all these movies and stuff. Yeah. And then come to find out, he was like, yeah, blacks don't fit my aesthetic. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like the gall to say something like that. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. A lot of people don't realize, and that's the luxury of being this default human, right?
Yeah.
You're allowed to just say that. And everybody thinks it's okay. It's like, well, why you gotta get so mad at, well, maybe he should not have said that. Maybe you don't think the world revolves around you. You would be a little bit more empathetic and you wouldn't be that kind of an asshole, but no.
That's a thing. It's a thing. It's called main character syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks like everything's about them all the time.
Yep. And it's like, yeah, if I don't want to engage, then I will not engage
Yeah.
with this person because, you know, it's like people, you know, I get really upset whenever I see people who's like, you know, we need to talk across the aisle, and especially in politics and stuff like that. I'm like, why? Why are you wanting to talk across the aisle? For what?
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly the fact that I have no problem having an open and honest discussion about, you know, anything that you don't understand. But when, you know, it's rooted in the fact that my existence is a problem for you, then there's no, what kind of conversation do I have to prove my existence is worth it to you? Like, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
there's no talking to somebody like that. You pretty much made up your mind before you got here. Like, you're not here for a solution. You're not here for trying to fix any kind of problems. You literally just want me to understand what you say and fall in line with what you say and agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just that's how some people tend to be. But I'm not interested in talking to people. Like, whenever I hear like all of these crazy takes, especially with that whole thing with Final Fantasy, I'm just like, yeah, you're not understanding this because you don't want to. I will lay out every reason why it's wrong for this dude to believe in the way he thinks, saying that black people, you know, don't fit the narrative and everything else. And I will lay it out to you in a way that anyone can understand. And you'll take every fact that I will say and throw it out the window because it does not fit the narrative
Yep.
that you wanted.
And that's
then what's the point of the conversation then?
they don't want to have a conversation because what happened was people started arguing in the comments on my TikTok, going back and forth, and like the people that were quote unquote on my side were listing like facts about certain things that were happening in the world and blah 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 blah, and it was just like it's just going one in one ear and out the other, and I'm just like, y'all don't want to have a conversation, you just want to talk. And I noticed that also with like I have a friend and she's like very very popular on YouTube. She's basically like this YouTube historian at this point. Intellectual media. So she makes these.
Lexi intellectual. Yeah. I love her videos. The videos are great.
Yeah, and she's really dope, and she's very intelligent, and she does a lot of research. She works really hard on those things, and she'll lay out every fact and figure and cite her sources and be very thorough. And then you still got hoteps in the comments like, "You ain't really black. You working for the man. You just trying to mess up the black community." Da 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 da. And just like, y'all wasn't listening to the video. You just saw a black woman, and then you wanted to attack.
That's exactly what it is.
You ain't want to hear the words. But then want to be in her DMs like, "Yo, girl, what's up?"
No, that part, because that's the thing. I think a lot of these dudes, it's very interesting. They tell on themselves when you see them post certain things.
Yeah,
you know, like the whole argument even with KK Palmer. You know, there was a whole debate. I saw one of those stupid TikToks. It was like, you know, is what she had on too revealing. I was like, why does that fucking matter to you? You're not with KK Palmer. I don't think it's your problem.
Right.
I don't think it's your fucking business. But here you are talking about it, and it doesn't make any sense. What does her dressing in the way she wants to dress have to do with you and your progress as a person? It doesn't.
Because I can't be with her, Chuck. That's
exactly
why.
Say that.
I'm angry.
That's the thing. Say that.
I think about Kiki all night.
You know, I'm like, I don't understand why we doing this. Like, I don't understand why this is the thing. I think people, I'd rather people just say the thing rather than hide behind it.
Yeah.
Like, let's go ahead and just really put what it is that you really feel. You only pissed off. You're pissed off at Janelle Monáe because,
oh my God,
you ain't in that video with her. That's why you pissed off. Like, I don't believe she would, because you ain't there shaking your ass with her.
You know what? That's what bothers me. For years, this girl has been dressing like a robot in a fashion suit. And they were like, when's she gonna show her ass? When's she gonna show her ass? She finally does it, and it's like, oh, why you doing this? And you sexualizing everything. And it's like, make up your mind.
Make up your mind. Oh, you know what my favorite recent thing is?
What?
The old girl who does the NPC thing, the Pinky doll.
Oh yeah, I just found out about that. I saw her one of her streams the other day. Like
Yeah,
they need to get her some water because she be going like for
she
hours.
going weird. Yeah, she needs to take a rest every once in a while. But the
Yeah,
thing is, look, I know a lot of people think it's weird. Hell, even I looked at it and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. But
ice cream's so good.
ice cream's so good, yo, whatever. I thought the show. But the thing that was crazy was when she first came on the scene, people were saying, "Oh, she's like a young 19-year-old girl doing this," and then you've come to find out she's not 19, and then dudes were like, "Oh, she's lied about her age. She's doing all this shit, do you know whatever and everything else." And I'm sitting there like, "So wait, now she's a liar. Now she's all this shit because you found out that she's actually older. But when she was 19 and doing this, like." Y'all shut up about this. Like, this is creepy as fuck.
Yeah,
It's like all of a sudden you find out she's older, probably the same age as y'all, and all of a sudden you got a problem with it. Like,
that's a whole yeah.
it's a whole lot of, and that's the thing that like I think I need people to start understanding. It's like a lot of people telling themselves when they put up this kind of weird shit that they do online. Like,
Yeah.
always someone who's always in the comments policing a woman on how to dress or the way she conducts herself and everything else. And I'm like, why are you here, bruh?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this stuff? So this basically
Because his baby mama put him on the couch.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if you know the artist Gray.
Not familiar.
Gray, okay, yeah, he's a Bed-Stuy dude. He's a comic book artist. He's done stuff for a very long time. Anybody in the business know if you mention Gray's name, they'll be like, "Oh, I know Gray."
Yeah.
He's like the Luke Cage of Bed-Stuy. But yeah, I remember he used to introduce me to a lot of the spots around here, which is crazy because I grew up in Brooklyn, but I grew up in East Flatbush.
Oh.
So, being around here, I remember I used to have family that used to live in Bed-Stuy, but I was never really out here like that
Yeah.
when I was growing up. That was funny because I never really was in Bed-Stuy until like more my adult life. I used to come out here all the time.
Yeah.
Because when I was in high school, I come out to Bed-Stuy. It was like time to fight. Like, brothers out here used to wow. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in high school in the 90s. So like, well, no, in the early 90s, late 80s kind of thing going. But
They call it Bed-Stuy do or die for a reason.
yep. There was a comedian who used to say, they call it Bed-Stuy, do or die Bed-Stuy, and I ain't want to do either one, so I got the fuck out. Damn, I'm looking. You know, it's funny. I'm looking at everything we just drew, right? And I'm looking at it on the screen up here because I've been drawing like at my head down here. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot of doodling.
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention because you already drew like 5 other things over here, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
I love this group like right above Bouncer's head. They look like they're about to like get into something. I don't know what they about to get into, but Homeboy looked angry and he had enough.
Word up. I was like, it was funny because I was going through Pinterest and I'm looking. We were talking about lighting, right? So I have like all these. I have this like whole board where I have nothing but like extreme lighting on black skin.
Ooh, send that to me.
Like, oh no, definitely, man. I'll put that link up for you.
Yeah.
And it's just like so crazy because like I'm looking at it, I was like, oh, none of this stuff is coming out at all. But I'm like, I'm gonna try my best to like make it happen.
Hey, as long as you having fun. As long as you having fun.
Oh, no, of course, that's what it is, man. But it's awesome though because it's interesting. I don't know if you look at some of my work, it's like I do stuff very linear.
Mm-hmm.
And I do any like heavy blacks. It's been a while since I've just played with brush, like going from thick to thin.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've done that, so this has been pretty fun.
Yeah, it's been exciting seeing you just draw. I've never sat down and been able to like see you at work, so this is great to just see you sketching and seeing where your mind is at. And I love that you've created and fostered this style of yours that's very unique, even though it's within like a particular theme. It's still, when I look at it, I'm like, that's Chuck, that's Bounce. You know what I mean?
I try, I've always struggled to, and I think it goes back to what I was saying with like, you're always competing with other people because of the way that the culture is set up and everything. And I find a lot more freedom when I'm not competing and I just let myself go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of that come from. It comes from. It's like I don't want to. When you feel like you have to perform, it's like But then doing this with you is fun because we're just shooting the shit and like just going crazy, and I could just
Yeah.
feel it and do what I gotta do and not feel like, oh my god, this is horrible drawing. Everybody's gonna see this.
Yeah.
Which we do to ourselves. We do to that
All the time.
all the time. Like and it's not a healthy thing. I think like that's one thing that I've had to kind of take out of myself because I used to be very, very hard on myself if I didn't get certain things right.
Yeah.
I used to be like, nah, man, if it's not perfect, I ain't putting it out.
And that's the funny thing is like literally in the real world, quote unquote, nothing is perfect. Nope. Nature is not even perfect.
Nope.
So we should never press ourselves to try to be like super duper on point all the time because you're just going to stress yourself out at the end of the day. Like Absolutely. I love going into and seeing like old cartoons and like seeing the mistakes they made because it's like that's human. Yeah. I love that.
Remember? Okay, so this is my most favorite anime of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever watched Gurren Lagann?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so this right here is very hard to find. This is probably going to be worth about maybe $300 or $400.
God damn.
Yeah. So I do know that this is the one thing that I have that if I was in dire straits, I was like, oh my god, I got to get money for rent.
Mm-hmm.
If I sell this, I know I'll be good, but I could never do it.
Yeah.
So this is the Groundworks book. This is basically all of the animation. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's like all of the pencil animation that has every single mistake and like every single like little discrepancy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like the entire thing. And this thing is like probably about almost 400 pages.
That's wow.
This was my Bible for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is all done by Studio Trigger. And
goats.
So if you talk about like stuff that, inspires me, that's one of the things too. But like that's the one thing that I'll get books like that. Like I don't like art books that are like fully rendered, like from beginning to finish, that has like that's great. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love that for the artists and everything else. But at the end of the day, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, yeah, but let me see the raw shit though.
Show me where you messed up.
Exactly. Show me like the raw emotion, of like how you came up with this thing.
Yeah.
I think that to me is where you get a chance to see, if you don't watch an artist's work, when you see like their groundwork, the sketches that they do, you get to see like the most rawest form of emotion from them, because that's where you get to see where their head was at when they started the idea.
Yeah, so absolutely.
That's that I really like.
Speaking of Bibles, I can't get it because it's all the way in the back. But one of my, I guess, like biggest heroes, I guess, in the art world is Jamie Hewlett. I got to meet him like years ago, and I think my favorite era of his was like the early Tank Girl books, and then like the early Gorillaz days. Because now his stuff is great. I'm not saying his stuff is bad or anything, but it's like so pristine now. And when you look at those old books and go back to watch those old Gorillaz videos, you see like stuff is out of whack, the proportions, this, that, and the third. And it's just like, it's beautiful because it's raw, it's real. It feels like he was just having fun and just doing whatever,
Yeah, no. I love Jamie Hewlett's work. Has always been like a major inspiration. I think I remember back in the early 2000s when his stuff was there and I was working for an animation studio, and then they were like, yeah, that new stuff that's out there, that gorilla guy, draw stuff like
the gorilla guy.
Yeah, the Gorillaz guy. Jamie Hewlett. And I used to be like, yeah, that's who we're talking about. Jamie.
Yeah.
But I think Jamie's work is like very inspiring. Like that's That's one of the. I remember. I still have all their. It's funny. I was going through like old hard drives that I have. I have like an old hard drive full of, like videos from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That I would get off of LimeWire, and a lot of them were like
Ooh.
guerrilla videos.
Yeah.
LimeWire when that was still a thing. People be like, "Yo, man, I just got this new song off of LimeWire."
And a virus to go with it.
Yep, there you go. But see, at least I had a Mac. So like, I think for a while people didn't care about making viruses for Mac because it was like, fuck Mac.
Yeah.
But I had to worry about that later. When BitTorrent came into play.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know. I don't even know. I haven't downloaded anything. I used to be the Jack Sparrow of the internet.
We were all pirates, Jack.
Exactly.
We all used to be pirates.
Yeah. I used to be, but with the way things now, and they want us to pay for all kinds of ridiculous streaming service, I think I'm going to dust off the old pirate hat again. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's yo, we could talk about this for like another 3 hours because it's like we broke away from it. We got into the digital era, and now they're just like, hey, this network has an app. This network has an app. This one has an app. This TV show's on this app, but you can't watch season 2 because that's on this other app. And it's like, what?
Exactly. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah. But on that note, because I feel like we can sit here and draw forever, and I literally stopped and started watching you. I'm not even drawing anymore.
I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at your stuff. Your stuff looks all like well thought out. You got this over here with the 2 eyes.
Your stuff looks well thought out. What are you talking about? With all this beautiful shading up here? Oh my God. But Chuck, thank you for sparing your time today with us. And if you have anything going on, let us know, and also let us know where people can find you across the interwebs.
You could find me on Twitter, Instagram at bounce_comic. You could find me, The Bouncer, on Blue Sky. That's pretty much everywhere I live now.
Cool.
Yeah, and TikTok. I don't even know what I have on TikTok. Honestly, I have a TikTok account so I could watch TikToks. I don't even. I think I post like a few like progress art videos.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody watches some shit, so I just use my TikTok to just watch dumb shit before I go to sleep.
That's all it is, though.
Yeah. But if anybody wants to ever see the comic or purchase the collected editions, only digital now because I have no more physical copies. But if you want to get the digital versions, you can go to gumroad.com/thebouncer. There's 3 volumes up. Each one anywhere between 50 to 100 and something pages worth of just dumb bar comedy. It's
beautiful bar comedy.
It's like
beautifully drawn.
It's just like if you don't have anything to do on a Saturday, and you don't have friends all your friends are hanging out, you're probably too broke. You pour yourself a nice glass of bourbon, read my comic, and trust me, you'll have a good time.
Yes.
That's basically that's why I made it. I wanted people who were bored, like I'm gonna have a drink and laugh.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
I love that. And folks, don't worry, all the links will be in the description below when this video is up, so don't worry. And then when you see it, if you don't go over to Gumroad right now, I'm gonna come find you. And I'm gonna take all your figurines, I'm gonna take your consoles, I'm gonna take your heart, I'm gonna take everything from y'all. No, I'm kidding.
If they got consoles, I'll join you. But no,
yeah.
No, leave them alone. Leave them alone.
But folks, yes, until next time, stay rad, stay dope, stay gold. We out. Deuces.